Alright everyone, welcome back. So, this is my final review video, possibly ever, for the Arizona Coyotes. You're probably wondering why, Nordic, why aren't you making this just based off of Utah and introducing Utah fans to the Coyotes regime? I want to do this one last time, because I'm an Arizona Coyotes fan, and I want to review their last season in the NHL for at least the next 5 or so years. That's something I want to do. So we'll move into part of our 2024 review series. I'm going to try not to get emotional. This is one of my favorite teams, by the way. So it was pretty hard when they were going to relocate. So regardless, let's get into it here. So the Coyotes went 36, 41, and 5 for 77 points. They were 27th in the NHL this past year. So I said it a lot in videos, and I'm going to say it again here. Had it not been for that 14-game losing streak, this team would have been way closer to the playoffs than they were. They would not have been 27th. They would have been at least at the playoff line, if not above the playoff line. If that losing streak doesn't happen, let's say they go middle of the pack through that stretch, I think they end up around, 20th or 19th in the NHL. I don't think they're this low. Just being honest, I don't think they're this low if it goes that way. It sucks, but it is what it is. The 14-game losing streak really put a dagger in a lot of the stats that this team had. They had a .470 points percentage, which was ranked 27th. They scored 256 goals, led in 271 for a -18 difference overall. Not terrible. I think it's way better than it's been in previous years. I will say that. And I'll get into the goaltending in a little bit, but that played a huge factor in why that number was so decent. They went 22-19-0 at home, so the Mullet Arena Magic was immaculate. And they went 14-22-5 on the road, which the road Magic was not immaculate. So, yeah, they were way better at home than they were on the road. That was the concept throughout the entire season, and it was very obvious. There were a lot of teams that just could never beat them in Mullet. There were a lot of teams that, they only played 2 seasons in Mullet, I believe, if I'm correct, and there were some teams that could not beat them in Mullet Arena. It's funny. It's very funny. They had a 3.1 goals for per game, which is ranked 16th, and they had a 3.34 goals against, which is ranked 24th. So those are 2 numbers there I want to specify. Those are numbers that show you that this team is closer than they were in previous years. When you look at other seasons, their goal for and goals per against were way worse than that. Like their goals for is exactly average. Exactly average. It's not above, it's not below, it's exactly average. That's good. Because I've seen so many years before where this team just can't score. They don't look great. I look at all these guys here. There's like 5 20-goal scorers. 5. What, 5? Like, really? Like, that's insane to think, honestly. And they have a 3.34 goals against, which, as I said, is better than it's been in previous years. It's still not the ideal level you want to get to, but it's way better than it's been in previous seasons. Substantially better. They have a 22% power play, which is ranked 15th, and they have a 76.3 penalty kill, which is ranked 23rd. Again, the power play was spectacular. 15th isn't awesome, but for Coyote standards, it means they're getting better. They're getting better offensively. That's what we've seen this year. They've gotten way better on the offensive side of things than they have been on the defensive end of things. And that's a huge positive for this team. A huge I can't exemplify that enough. The offensive numbers have gotten so much better than they've been in previous years. That's a huge positive. So in terms of TikTok average, they finish off at 6 in my average, which is 27th amongst the teams that I did with my divisional power rankings on TikTok. I do plan on doing that next year with Utah. I will be keeping track of what Utah's stats are with Arizona's, factored in there too with the all-time. So be sure to stay tuned for that. That's the team numbers there. The team stats, there's some numbers that aren't great. There's some numbers that are good. But overall, it's a mixed bag when you look in terms of what exactly those numbers are like. But when you look at the players that have scored this year, there's a lot more scoring that has come with this team. We'll start off with Clayton Keller, my favorite player in Coyotes history. And before I get into this, I do want to say that I'm going to make a video talking about the Coyotes, my fandom, going through my collection, talking about players, my favorite moments. I will make a full, probably 30-minute long video talking about that because it's something I want to do to pay tribute to this team, and I will be doing it very, very soon. I may do it in the next couple of days, in fact. I am going away. This is part of my pre-recording videos. So I want to get all these out there and get the 2024 reviews going, but I may make that video at some point in there too because it's easy to make, it's simple, and all it is just me talking for 30 minutes. So stay tuned for that. But Clayton Keller, 78 games played, 33 goals, 43 assists for 76 points. I think Keller had a great season. I think it's a little bit down from his other season the year before, but I think he still had a good year overall. I honestly believe that Keller is the backbone of this team heading to Utah, and he's going to be that next big guy. He's going to be. This whole team is centered around Keller. Nick Schmaltz, 79 games played, 22 goals, 39 assists for 61 points. Schmaltz, I've had my concerns with in Arizona. I think he had a really good year this past season, though. Scored a lot offensively, had good numbers, and I think that that's something to be appreciative of. I think that next year, if they're not in the playoffs again, there's a decent chance that Schmaltz gets traded. I even said that in videos during this season that could happen. But I wouldn't rule it out as something that could happen in the 2025 trade deadline, talking about that with Utah and all that stuff. I will make a video about Utah in the future, too. I am going to make videos on that. Matias Maccelli, third in scoring, 82 games played, 17 goals, 40 assists for 57 points. Maccelli had a good year, too. I think it's better than it was last year. He actually has been a guy that came out as a gem from Arizona, was I think a third-round pick, has looked spectacular the last 2 seasons, and I think that that's really something to build off of there if you're Maccelli and the Coyotes. Nick Bjugstad with 76 games played, 22 goals, 23 assists for 45 points. Bjugstad, I thought, had an impressive season too, and I think that for a guy who was like a third-line center, second-line center at times sometimes, he put up 22 goals. That's impressive considering the fact that there were a lot of players on this team who struggled a little bit to score. But I'm looking at the numbers here. We had a lot of guys who could score. I'm reading it off here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 20-goal scorers on this team this year. That is something that I haven't seen in forever. I haven't seen six guys score 20 goals on either of my favorite teams in such a long time. And it just shows that this team is getting better, and it just sucks that as they're getting better, they have to move from Arizona. It just sucks so bad. I can't exemplify that enough. It sucks so bad. Alex Kerfoot, 82 games played, 13 goals, 32 assists, 45 points, was brought in this season as a free agent acquisition, brought in to bolster the depth a little bit. I think Kerfoot's done well in the amount of time he's played with the Coyotes. I think that there's definitely more there, which is why he's signed from now till I think 22, 24, 25. So we'll see how he does with the new Utah team, but I think Kerfoot had a good season overall. Logan Cooley, the rookie, he had 82 games played, 20 goals, 24 assists for 44 points. Cooley, it's there. It 100% is there. You see the sparks of good play. You see the sparks of him becoming a solid player. I think it's just a matter of you need to just get him developed and wait for him to go. He scored 20 goals this year. He was, I think, 4th in scoring with this team when it came to goals. I might be wrong. I think I'm definitely wrong, actually. I think that he has the potential to be a 85, 90-point guy. He got 44 points in his rookie season, and he wasn't even a finalist, which is disappointing. But I think it shows that there's positivity coming soon when it comes to the younger players with the Coyotes. Lawson Krause, 81 games played, 23 goals, 19 assists, 42 points. Solid young player, has been with his team for forever. I've always liked Lawson Krause. Has been a guy that I've enjoyed in many years. And I think that he's going to be here for the long term, too. I think he might have been here longer than Keller, in fact, or he's been here just as long as Keller. He's been here for a while. Sean Durzi, 76 games played, 9 goals, 32 assists, 41 points. Another guy that was brought in during the offseason last year and looked impressive, is probably going to stick around as our next defenseman. I don't know if he's our number one defenseman necessarily. I don't think he should be by any means, but he's a great top 4 defenseman, can put up good goals for you, can play the solid defense. I think Durzi is a good defenseman. I think we should keep him around. He's always been one of my favorite guys with the Arizona Coyotes. Ninth in scoring, Michael Carcone, 74 games played, 21 goals, 8 assists for 29 points. Carcone's another guy that I really enjoyed this year, and I think that it was really unexpected when he scored 20 goals in the first 40 games of the year. He really kind of slowed down a little bit though, which shows hence his points, but I think Carcone can be a good fourth liner for this team, at least in the short term. And then Jack McBain was 10th in scoring with 67 games played, 8 goals, 18 assists for 26 points. McBain doesn't score a lot, but is more of a physical type forward. I would imagine they keep him around there as a physical fourth liner, good grit, good secondary scoring. I don't think he's a bad guy there at all for the Coyotes. So overall, a young team here, just a team that was really fun to watch in their last year in Arizona, and it was an emotional end, but I think that this team's bringing a lot of positivity heading over to Utah. I think there's a lot of positive there. So in terms of goalies, you got Connor Ingram, 23, 21, and 3, a 2.91 and a .907 save percentage. Ingram played a huge part in why this team was in it for a long time. They were wildly inconsistent through a lot of this season, and that's the biggest thing that I said through a lot of my videos. This team just lacks that inconsistency that they need. They lack that inconsistency where they can go in and they can win a few games in a row. They win a couple of games in a row, then they lose. It's hard to sustain. It was hard to sustain that this year, and I think that's because they're a young team. They're much younger than a lot of the teams in the NHL, which makes a lot of sense. And I think it's something they need to improve on. It's something they need to develop in the future seasons if they want to get back to contention. Karel Vejmelka with a 13, 19, and 2 record, a 3.35 and a .897. I thought Vejmelka had a good season too. I think he showed sparks of impressiveness with the Coyotes. I do think, though, there's those rumors of him getting traded. I think that's possible. I don't know if it happens, but I think it's very possible. Something you could see there in the near future. So yeah, that's your stats there. When it comes to players, you can tell that my voice, I don't seem too enthusiastic as I've been in previous years, just because I'm really sad. I talk about the Coyotes, I try and be positive, but they're my favorite team. They're one of my favorite teams in the NHL. Them and the Philadelphia Flyers. It's a well-known thing. If you don't know that, there you go. But it sucks to see them go in this way. It does. And again, as I said, I'm going to make another video. I'm not going to go into that too much, but it is something that I do want to say. Ins and outs that moved out during the season. The ends were a 4th, a 5th, and a 6th for Arizona. They got no players back. It seemed like they didn't really want to get a lot of players to really help the long term. The outs, they moved out Troy Stetcher, Jason Zucker, Matt Dumba, and a 7th round pick. So they moved out the guys they could. They didn't get a whole lot back in return. I didn't expect for them to anyways. The guys they really could move weren't that big of name players, unless they move guys like Nick Schmaltz or Kerfoot or even a guy like Connor Ingram. I think that was talked about, but I think they want to keep most of this core together heading to Utah, I guess. But obviously, something you got to keep in mind. So that's it for current stuff, stuff that happened this past season. Let's focus on the future a little bit and things that are actually Utah's problem. They're Utah's problem, not even Arizona's. So they have a 1st round pick, which is the 6th overall pick. I think they'll take a defenseman. I hope so. They have 3 seconds, 3 thirds, 2 fourths, a 5th, 2 6ths, and a 7th. So one thing they've built up over the last couple of years is their draft capital. It's something they've really developed over the last couple of seasons. And especially with this past year, they've really gotten a lot more picks in the earlier rounds. But they need to strike in the later rounds too if they want to really become that team that can, go far. And they want to get those depth guys that you get in the late rounds. So we'll see there. But those are your draft capital. Your UFAs and RFAs here. You have Liam O'Brien, Josh Brown and Travis Dermott as your UFAs. Your RFAs are Barrett Hayton, Sean Durzi, UC Valimaki, and Yanis Jerome-Moser. Notice how a lot of those guys are defensemen. I think only 2 of those 7 players I mentioned are forwards. So that leaves you with 5 of your guys expiring. That's your whole blue line, essentially. So that's something you got to keep in mind there. This team has an opportunity this coming offseason to really revamp the blue line. I think that's something they've been able to do in previous years, but they have a huge chance here to really do that. And when you look at the stats, the team numbers, the advanced analytics, and even like when you watch the games, the biggest issue is the defense. You need to fix the defense, get a good bolstered blue line behind or in front of Vejmelka and Ingram to really kind of make this team contending again. I think drafting Sam Dickinson, getting a guy like Simashev too, it helps. Lamoureux as well, Soderstrom, there's prospects there, there's a pipeline there, but it's a matter of developing that and getting that into the state that it needs to be to become a playoff team. So regardless, it sucks to see the Coyotes go. I'm hyped for Utah, though. I'm happy that Utah's getting a team. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed, make sure to like and subscribe down below. I greatly appreciate it. We will be doing more of these. I'm going to get more of these out in the next couple of days. I think I got Sens and Kraken soon, but regardless, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Adios.